Real quick, before we jump into this episode, I put together a free fat loss guide, 33 pages of real tips, strategies, and everything you can implement to see better results long term. Just message me with the keyword fat loss guide to Instagram at ColossusFit, ColossusFit, and I'll send it right over. Now into the episode.
What's going on? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house. Today, we're going to be talking about 7 hidden mistakes that are affecting your progress. And this episode was inspired just from seeing a lot of things being done improperly over the years. And I see a lot of people, like on one side, there's some people who aren't consistent. They don't really check into the gym. They're not hitting their calories. Like there's a good population of those people. But on the other end, there's a lot of people who are doing all that kind of right stuff and what seems to be the right stuff, but they're hidden mistakes that they're making, right? You may show up to the gym consistently. You may try to eat as healthy as possible, but you're still not doing the actual right stuff that's going to produce change. So you can honestly learn a ton from this episode. Like even if you are seeing great change, you can learn a few things that you can improve. So I really want you to keep an open mind and figure out which tip here is something you can apply to your life to get better results long term. So the first and one of the most common things I see is kind of the thought process of doing more sets, more reps, more everything. And this example was brought on to me from a gentleman recently who was kind of supersetting everything and just like in a way, if you look at the workout and how much time spent there, you would say he's there doing a lot more than Josh and myself or than, other people in the gym as well. But he was just doing a lot of stuff that's kind of lower quality. Supersets that didn't make sense, just taking a lot of time in between sets. And the example of the superset was it was a flat bench press with one plate on each side. It was a flat dumbbell bench press, and then it was a lateral raise. Just done, I guess you could say, lower quality. And so I just really want you to take something from this where it should be every exercise you do should be intentional. You should be pushing yourself close-ish till failure, leaving a couple reps left in the tank. And every workout routine should be created for a reason. It shouldn't just be a bunch of random stuff. It shouldn't just be what's available and just trying to do a ton of different things. Like the way that the workout flows, it starts with the compounds, we work into some accessories, and then at the very end, we're going to move into the smaller muscle groups, and we create our workouts essentially the way they are for a reason, for progressive overload, for long-term change, and like tailoring it based off of what you actually need instead of just a bunch of random supersets and a bunch of random volume that doesn't make sense. So this is the first thing that a lot of people do that you should avoid doing.
Yeah, more is not always better. It's like being on your phone, watching reels while you're watching a movie, while you're trying to read a book, while you're trying to talk to a friend. Like you could be like, oh, I'm doing 4 things at once, but you're probably not focusing on any of them and you're probably just going to feel pretty lost. So it's very much the same with working out. Like you'd be better to do one set with full intention, full purpose. And if you do a superset, you want to just the same. You want to do it with full intention, full purpose, really make every rep count, have that mind-muscle connection and maximize that for what it is. But yes, more is not always better. And the next biggest mistake, I think, is just leaning towards eating healthy without actually focusing on tracking your calories or your macros. Because it's very easy just to fool yourself into saying, I'm intuitive, I'm eating healthy. In a perfect world, these things sound great, but it's very hard to actually stick to them and be consistent. And what's tough is it's easy to eat healthy when it's convenient, when you're at home, when you're cooking, when you're at a great restaurant. But things get more difficult also as life happens. Maybe you're in the office and they cater in from a burger spot or a pizza or whatever, and it puts you in this weird spot. And sometimes that's where people who've only eaten healthy, they'll just go crazy and they'll eat a ton of that pizza and it just won't work out. Whereas when you're tracking your macros and your calories, you can be like, okay, this is all I have to eat. I'm gonna have 2 slices. I'm gonna enjoy the heck out of them. I'm gonna fit them in, and then I'm gonna make sure to have a high protein, lower calorie dinner or something like that. So that's where you can actually use that cold hard data. You can actually see what you're tracking. You can see if you're doing as well as you can. And just the same, it's very easy to overeat healthy things as well. Like I could eat like 6,000 calories of healthy food, no problem at all. Like it doesn't necessarily fix my goals of like staying lean, having great muscle. And that's where actually leaning into the calories, leaning into your macronutrients, like that is what will be a mover, and that's what will actually cause you to see the progress you're looking to see. So this is a really big one because it's kind of a trap just saying that like I'm eating healthy mentality, and you can get kind of stuck and actually see no progress.
I know some people, it's misguided effort. So like there'll be some who just say, I have a salad every single day, or like they'll do it 5 days of the week. And then it's like, it kind of tricks you into thinking you're doing the right stuff. Like salads are great. It's sometimes hard to eat higher calories from it. Yes, of course you can get Caesar salad, whatever. It can be a lot, but it's like a lot of times there's that like misguided, like, hey, I'm eating salad, so I'm healthy. And then the rest of the day, nothing else matters. Or even as an example, someone really close to me in the past would send me all of the healthy foods. And then a lot of the stuff, like, yeah, they were considered healthy, but they were pretty caloric, right? You think almonds, you think guacamole, you think like all these different, healthy add-ons. It adds up, right? So that's where the data is so key. And I see a lot of people just thinking, oh, I'm doing all the right stuff. Yeah, I'm making salad. I'm, just having these healthy options, but their calories just are out of whack and they're actually not seeing change because they're not in a calorie deficit. And next up is just free programs. So I always say, the more you pay, the more you pay attention. And the reality of doing stuff like this is that, first of all, it's not tailored for you. That's like one thing. When you are following a generic free program, free advice, it can do so much. Like, don't get me wrong, when you do listen to tips and you start to apply it, it can produce change. But I do find when it comes to nutritional structure and an actual workout routine, something tailored to you will actually be the most beneficial. But even more than that, when you have something that you've put your money towards and you've invested in yourself, you're a lot more likely to actually show up on the harder days, to follow through with it. And I see so many people who will watch a YouTube video, ask ChatGPT a question, ask someone else a question. They say they're going to do something, but because they don't have an investment tied to it, they don't actually show up for themselves. They don't actually care. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky, is that people will kind of like have all this free advice, free tips, free workout stuff, and then they never actually show up. And it kind of feels good knowing, hey, one day I'm going to invest in, or one day I'm going to do this. One day I'm going to show up for myself. And like, you kind of feel like you're doing it because you talk about it and you think about it, but you don't actually do it. So you got to be careful with this type of stuff. And that's going to be number 3.
Next up is just like leaning too far into supplements and like health additives, if you will. Like if you're someone who's like taking 50 different pills for 50 different things, and you're taking all these other things that are going to optimize your skin, your gut health. Like, the reality is the best way to actually see mass improvement is to make necessary changes. So obviously eating cleaner, training hard, recovering well, and anything else is going to be supplemental to that. And even supplements generally are designed to fill gaps that you may have in your diet, and they're mainly or your lifestyle. And that's kind of how you ideally want to be utilizing them. Whereas people kind of flip that script and they'll say like, oh, I'm taking all these supplements, I'm having this juice shake thing for dinner, so I'm totally good, I can do whatever I want. And like, that's just, it's not the way it works, and it's huge misapplied effort, and it's a really big mistake because it's costly. You're not going to see the results you want to see, and it's like a false shield, if you will. The goal is to actually fix the core, that is, and then to add supplements as an addition towards that.
Yeah, I know someone who would just like have those Poppi drinks that are like supposed to be gut cleansing, and he was like pretty unhealthy. He would just talk to me about, this is what I'm doing, I'm having one of these a day, even like stuff like apple cider vinegar, which like doesn't taste good. And it kind of gives you the illusion like I'm doing all this healthy stuff, but it's just not actually going to produce change aside from just burn a hole in your wallet. So big common mistake I see a lot of people make. And next up, this can come in so many different ways, shapes, and forms, however you take it. But an example for the gym that we specifically go to would be, you're showing up, you're doing pickleball, you're hitting the recovery session, and you're hitting the sauna. So once again, these are kind of false illusions. These are things where it's like, if you were to check the records of like, how many times did Kyle go to the gym, you'd be able to say, hey, he went a lot, right? You see him checking in, he's there for 2 to 3 hours, he's meeting a lot of cool people. I walk around, everyone's like, hey, I see Kyle again, right? But I'm just kind of showing up to show up. And I really have to stress, like, there is something to be said about enjoying it. And like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things that I do. I hit the sauna consistently. I like to play sports consistently, but a lot of times people use these things in place of what's actually going to produce change. We always talk about strength training, right? So if you do strength training 4 to 5 times a week, you hit pickleball a few times, you play sports, hey, that's awesome. But a lot of times people replace the core of what's actually going to work with other things such as recovery, just kind of hitting the sauna and a cold shower. Like, for example, like they'll use a lot of these things as a replacement of what's actually going to work. So just a reminder, if you are going to add these types of things in, no problem. Add it into the thing that's already going to work, and that's going to be strength training. Resistance training 3 to 5 times a week, progressive overload, the right routine, that's going to produce the most amount of change.
Yeah, I think anything that you're overly comfortable and that you aren't utilizing the principle of progressive overload should be cautioned. And I think it's very easy to confuse yourself and say, like, I went to the gym and I worked out for a bit, but like I needed to sauna, I needed to go to that recovery zone so I wasn't too sore for the next day. Like, you can kind of make these false promises to yourself. And I think that's where the next tip would be like overutilizing workout classes, generic programs where you're not progressing. Like, these things are detrimental. So even when I started at, like, I used to work at Good Life way back, I used to teach the little Fit 20 section they had. And that's just in 20 minutes, you could do like these 6 machines and work your whole body. And it was like meant to be a little intro program. But what happens is you kind of jump from machine to machine. You're not actually learning any of the principles of training. You're not training to a certain difficulty. And I started doing that because that's all I knew how to do. And I just do random weights every time, and it would take me nowhere. And just the same, I used to do P90X when I started. And I know for a lot of people, like with workout classes in general or pickleball, as Kyle had said, it's very easy just to go in, do the same thing day in, day out, say, I did my fitness for the day, I did my activity. Same with running, same with walking. Like, cardio is phenomenal, but cardio doesn't produce physique change, like to actually change your composition. So if you want to shape your glutes or have a big chest as a dude or really have great back strength, you need to actually train and lift weights. And like even F45, these different things, they kind of put you in a rotation where it's quite similar, and you can obviously improve your weights over time, but it's not addressed to you. It's not going to be as progressive. There's more opportunity for it to be dangerous, and you can be very comfortable in these things. Like, you can hide in these classes pretty easily. I actually used to teach aquafit way back, and you'd catch people hiding, but you can just not give it your all. You could just go in there, say you did an hour, and it's like a false security in your head because you feel like you're doing something, but then you wonder why you're not seeing progress, right? So that's where you need to be honest with yourself and find a balance. And it's not to say you can't do these things. Like, if you love classes, there's some that are better than others. There's some that are designed better, but I think you need to be pretty aware, like I said, that you are doing that core thing. And I think classes are a great example of like that shiny object syndrome, because you can say, I'm doing this new class, it beat me up. I remember me and Kyle did a wrestling class one day, and like I still to this day think it's one of the hardest things I did. It like killed me. It was like wrestling for like an hour straight, and it was so hard. And you'd be like, oh, that's working you physically, it's working your cardio, it's super good for you. But if you're never training and like lifting weights, or you're avoiding what actually is going to produce change because you're just doing convenient classes, and aquafit is a huge like, it's one of the crimes of this, because aquafit, most instructors, it's like a joke, right? Like, you're just dancing in the water basically, and like you're listening to music, and unfortunately, like the demographic who's usually in there, it's very low impact. It's not most typically the most fit people, but if you consider, it's so comfortable, like it feels good. You're in a pool, you're listening to music, you're socializing, it's not hard, it's not challenging you. But like, if you fall into that comfort and that's all you ever do, like, you're missing out on actually pushing yourself, improving, and actually seeing change. So you really want to be aware of these things. You need to ask yourself, like, am I in a pattern that's just comfortable, that's really inhibiting my opportunity to progress? And it's just like any comfort like that, because if I can go to the gym and I can do heavy legs, heavy squats, lunges, or I can play pickleball, it's easy to say, I'm just gonna do pickleball. So you need to cut that mentality out, and you need to actually challenge yourself and say, like, what are my goals, and like, is what I'm doing going to help me improve to that? If I love pickleball, I'll find a day to do it, but I'm not going to do it in place of other things. If I love yoga, that's a great opportunity for me to recover and stretch, but it shouldn't come in place of a workout. And if you love it to death, like, you can find a balance that's reasonable. But like, if my goal is to build muscle, look amazing, be lean, I need to be lifting. I need to be doing these hard things, right? And everything else is a phenomenal bonus. Even we've had clients in the past that do our full program, and they like the socialization of classes and they want more cardio, so they do a couple Orange Theories. But like, Orange Theory isn't going to give you the physique change you want to achieve or the physique you want to achieve. So it's just one of those things where you fall into those false comforts. You feel like you're doing something, you feel good, but you're actually inhibiting yourself the most because you're not moving to where you know you could move towards.
Yeah, and even just what a lot of people don't realize is some things are designed, like you end up being ravenous afterwards. So even some examples of like workout classes, or when I used to do tons of running, it was really hard to see true results because I would like just be so hungry after. And even sometimes, like if you were to compare an hour workout class, like a step class or whatever it is, where you're just jumping up and down for a while and you're doing like really light weights for like 50 reps and just with really bad form, and then just like a 45-minute walk or an hour walk, someone will say, well, I feel so much like more burnt out and that workout class gave me more energy and I just feel destroyed. And like, that's what those are designed to do. And then some people will be like, oh, well, a walk doesn't make me feel like that. It's doing nothing for me. But then the person who's like killing themselves in those classes, they can't really strength train because they're so sore from it. Their form's pretty bad. And then like they're also a lot hungrier from some of these things. So they end up eating more calories back. So once again, just being honest with yourself, like what is my intention and am I doing all the right stuff that's going to move the needle? And then if I were to add anything else, like just know that sometimes it's for fun and like, you know, just for socialization, and just like there's nothing wrong with that. It's just so many people come up to us and they say, hey, Josh and Kyle, like I'm doing all this stuff. Like, why aren't I seeing change? Like we'll be in the sauna and someone's like, I'm doing this conditioning class like 5 times a week and I'm starting to eat healthier. But like, why aren't I seeing change? And when we come down to the core of it, they feel like they should be seeing change because of all the misapplied effort, but they're just not getting the results they're striving for due to all of these different things. And the last thing would just be simply Tommy texting or just talking too much in general, right? Like I said, going back to the example of if you check the records of like, did this person show up or not? You'll see, yes, they were there for quite a while, but even there was a few examples today. Today was leg day for us. We were waiting for one machine. A guy was watching a YouTube video for, I'd say 6 minutes without hitting a set, something like that, something crazy. And then when I was doing my heavy squats to start, there was someone right beside me. Similar concept. I think I did 3 sets and they were just chatting the whole time. So once again, it is awesome meeting people. It's cool. Nothing wrong with it. It's just a lot of times people wonder, like, why am I in the gym for so long? Like we've been asked from a gentleman, like I'm in here way longer, and then like they're just getting way less done and they're just way less efficient, and they're just wondering why they're not seeing true change. So you really have to just be aware of that. And if you are to have conversations, if you're to check your phone, like just be mindful of like doing the right stuff with the right amount of rest and actually like challenging yourself. Because even some people will say I talk the whole time, but they're like distracted most of the time. So it's like really hard to focus back in on their actual sets. But yeah, that's going to be number 7. And with that, we've actually put together a free fat loss guide, something that's going to give you a bunch of great tips and strategies that you can implement into your daily life to lose fat, build muscle, feel your absolute best. All you have to do is message us fat loss guide to Instagram at Colossus Fit, COLOSSUSFIT. Make sure to grab that. And thank you so much for spending time with us in today's episode. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.